Hello AmericansChannel. This video is made by free videos from Storyblocks, and these images and video we use just for explanation, and it's free use also.
Town wakes up to giant sinkhole. At first, no one believed this was the cause. It began with a sound no one could quite describe, half rumble, half sigh. By the time people stepped outside, it was already there. A perfect circle carved into the earth like a giant had taken a cookie cutter to the grass, right next to the old schoolhouse. At first, people just stared. Then someone screamed, and the whole street came running. Mayor Carla Martin was still brushing her teeth when the phone started buzzing nonstop. A sinkhole? Near the school? She rushed over, thinking it couldn't be that bad. But standing at the edge, she felt her stomach drop. The hole was massive and deep. It didn't look like a regular sinkhole. It looked too clean, too perfect, like something had made it. Within minutes, half the town was there. Kids on bikes, old ladies in curlers, even grumpy Mr. Dobbins from the corner shop. Phones were out, people filming, whispering. Was it the new construction site? The rain last week? Aliens? Someone joked about the town finally falling apart. But no one laughed. Not really. Because the longer they looked, the more wrong it all felt. The firefighter stepped forward, curious. He picked up a rock and held it over the edge. "Let's see how far down this goes," he said, half joking. He dropped it. The town held its breath. 1 second, 2, 3, 10. Then, clack. A faint, distant sound, the kind that comes from far below. Someone whispered, "That's too deep." The firefighter didn't answer. He just backed away. Drones were launched. The view from above made everyone step back. The hole wasn't jagged like a natural collapse. It was a near-perfect circle, almost smooth. And it had layers, orange and red and brown rings like some giant cake. Geologists shook their heads. "That's not how this should look," one muttered. Carla crossed her arms, feeling suddenly cold. "Then, what are we looking at?" Eddie Granger, the town's self-appointed historian, shuffled over with a folder under his arm. "This land used to belong to the Order of the Crimson Lamb," he announced. People blinked at him. "Who?" Carla asked. "Religious nutters from way back," he said. "They had a big chapel and tunnels, I think." No one took him seriously. But no one laughed either. A little dog, Sprinkles, belonging to Mrs. Thorne, slipped past the police tape. It scurried too close to the edge, barked at something unseen, then yelped and vanished. People screamed. Mrs. Thorne fainted. From the hole came a few sharp barks. Then silence. The sound echoed for a while after that. Carla stared into the dark, her hands clenched. "This is no ordinary sinkhole," she muttered. That evening, a group of teens swore they saw glowing lights above the hole. "Like lightning, but silent," one said. "More like orbs," another added. Their video was shaky, grainy. Classic teen nonsense, Carla thought. Still, she made a note of it. Because deep down, even if she wouldn't admit it, something felt off. And the town had seen weird things before. The next morning, the geologists tried to lower a probe into the hole. They were hoping for rock samples, or at least a depth reading. Instead, the line snapped. Not from weight. No, it felt like it had hit something hard. Carla watched as they pulled the broken cable up. "Something's blocking it," the technician said. But there was nothing on the surface to block anything. Later that day, an old man showed up, screaming. "The vault! You fools, you've opened the vault again!" Police tried to calm him down, but he just kept yelling. "It's coming out now! It remembers!" He was taken away in a patrol car, still shouting. Carla shook her head. "Every small town has its local lunatic," she said. But even Eddie looked pale. A local reporter brought Carla something strange, old blueprints from 1922. They showed a sealed chamber beneath the school grounds, labeled only as Subterranean Structure B. No details, no notes, just a big circle with thick walls. "You think this is real?" Carla asked. "You're standing on top of it," the reporter replied. She folded the map with shaking fingers. "We need answers," she whispered. That night, Carla dreamed of stone halls and voices whispering in Latin. She didn't speak Latin, but she understood. They were warning her, or calling her, or both. She woke up sweating, heart racing, her pillow damp. She told herself it was just stress, just a mayor worrying about her town. But the words wouldn't leave her mind. Non vigilare. Don't wake it. The next morning, Carla's assistant ran into her office, wide-eyed. You need to see this. Outside, fresh cracks zigzagged across the pavement, straight through the mayor's office garden. They hadn't been there yesterday. Carla stared at them, feeling a tight knot in her chest. How fast is it spreading? She asked. No one had an answer. But the ground no longer felt steady. Everyone had a theory now. Some blamed the nearby quarry, others pointed to the recent drilling for fiber cables. A few whispered about curses or ancient punishment. Carla heard them all, but none made sense, because this hole wasn't acting like a collapse. It was acting like a door, and whatever was behind it might still be waiting to come through. By the end of the day, Carla stood at the edge again. The crowd had thinned, but a few diehards remained, watching. One kid asked, "What if it keeps growing?" Carla didn't answer. She didn't know how. Instead, she looked down into the shadows and wondered what was truly beneath their feet. The worst part wasn't what she saw. It was what she felt. Eddie arrived at Carla's door clutching an old leather-bound journal. "Found it in the church archives," he said, breathless. The pages were filled with spidery handwriting and odd symbols. One line repeated often, "We sealed the hollow with blood and prayer." "It's dated 1841, Eddie added. "Looks like they buried something." Carla stared at the ink. "Something they wanted to keep buried." At the emergency town council meeting, people shouted over each other, "Shut the school down! Evacuate the block! It's just bad plumbing!" Carla banged the gavel until her hand hurt. "But we don't know enough yet," she insisted. But deep down, she was starting to believe Eddie. And so were a few others. The room went silent when someone whispered, "What if it's alive?" Dr. Reynolds, a sinkhole specialist flung in from Chicago, peered into the pit with narrowed eyes. "It's not erosion," he muttered. "This isn't collapse. It's design," he pointed at the rings. "This was hollowed out and deep." When asked by how much, he paused. "Farther than my equipment can measure. You may be sitting on top of something massive." Carla felt her knees wobble. Using LiDAR, Dr. Reynolds revealed a 3D image of what lay beneath the sinkhole. A huge dome-like chamber, perfectly round with a raised center. "And this," he said, zooming in, "looks like a roof. Stone, maybe even carved." The room was silent. Carla blinked at the screen. "That's not natural," she whispered. Reynolds nodded. "And it's not empty either." The top of the dome bore ancient carvings. They were hard to read, but clear enough. Eddie translated the Latin slowly. "None evigilare. None eperere. Don't wake. Don't open," he said. Someone laughed nervously. "What is this, a horror movie?" But no one else laughed. Carla felt her stomach twist, because she had seen those exact words in her dream. Eddie dug deeper and found a banned section in the church's archives. Yellowed pages sealed long ago. They spoke of an underground sanctuary built to hold a blessing turned curse. It mentioned the Order of the Crimson Lamb. Carla read the final entry aloud. "We closed it with faith and fear. It must never be uncovered." But it already had been. That night, a local teen named Max live-streamed himself climbing over the tape. "Let's go viral!" He grinned to his phone. He shined a flashlight into the pit and shouted, "Hello down there!" Then he went quiet. The video showed him freeze. "I hear whispering." His phone slipped. The screen blurred, then black. The town gasped. Max didn't come home. Rescue crews rappelled down with lights and scanners. When they returned, their faces were pale. "He's gone," one said. "No trace, but there's something built down there. Stone walls, arches." Carla felt faint. They showed her photos. Arches, columns, ancient symbols carved into rock. "It's like a temple," the tech whispered. "A temple no one knew existed until now." That night, a deep rumble rolled through the town. The ground cracked further. The hole widened by 3 meters. It now reached the edge of the first house. No one slept. People packed bags. A few left town. Carla stared at the growing darkness. "We need to seal it," she whispered. But she knew it was too late for that. At dawn, Max came back. He wandered out of the woods, barefoot, ash-streaked and mumbling. It spoke, he kept saying. It has a name. Carla rushed to him. What did you see? He just kept whispering. The same word over and over, not a name she knew, not a word she recognized. But it made her blood run cold. The governor's office finally responded. A containment team was en route. Until then, the town was on its own. Carla gathered her team. We keep everyone back, she said. No one goes near it. But she couldn't stop thinking about Max, about the dome, about the way the ground shuddered, like something below was stirring in its sleep. Eddie showed up again, this time holding an envelope. I found it in your dad's files, he said quietly. Carla opened it. Inside was a blueprint of tunnels beneath the church. They led right under the sinkhole. Marked in red, Chamber B. He knew, she whispered. My dad knew. Eddie nodded. I think he tried to keep it sealed. Carla confronted Father Jonah, the town's priest. He didn't deny it. We've watched the site for generations, he said. The church knew. But not what it really was. He paused. We just knew it was dangerous. Carla stared at him. And you never told anyone? Would you have believed me, he asked. Would you believe me now? That afternoon, a plain envelope appeared on Carla's desk. No return address. Inside was an old iron key and a photograph. The photo showed the dome taken in 1963. The same dome now under her town. On the back of the photo, scrawled in her father's handwriting, don't open it no matter what. But it was already open, just a little. That evening, several townspeople reported strange things, murmurs in the night, chills in rooms with no windows open, dreams full of stone corridors and locked doors. Even Eddie heard voices. They don't want to be forgotten, he said. Carla stared at the sinkhole from her window. It looked still, quiet. But something was coming up. She could feel it. Carla and Eddie returned to the church. In the basement, behind an old bookcase, they found the hatch. It creaked when opened, revealing narrow stairs that spiraled downward. You don't have to come, Carla told him. Eddie grinned nervously. I absolutely do. Together, flashlight in hand, they stepped into the dark. The air smelled like dust and something older. The stone tunnels were damp and curved, with strange markings on the walls. Carla ran her fingers over them. They're warm, she whispered. Like skin. Eddie held the light higher. The tunnel branched ahead, and somewhere far below, they both heard a low hum, like breathing. Let's not split up, Eddie muttered. Carlo didn't argue. At the end of the tunnel, they found a heavy stone gate carved with more Latin and a rusted iron handle, the same shape as the key. Carla hesitated, then slowly inserted it. It fit. A soft click echoed. The door didn't open, but something behind it moved. A shift. A sigh. They stepped back. It's listening, Eddie said. Carla wasn't sure he was wrong. They climbed back into the church, hearts pounding. Carla couldn't sleep that night. The town felt wrong. The air was heavy. The trees were still. And under it all, she could feel it again. The slow rumble, like something deep beneath was getting restless. She knew it wasn't just fear. It was recognition. The thing below. It knew her name. Just before dawn, the last power line near the sinkhole snapped. Half the town went dark. No storm, no wind, it just broke. The lights in Carla's house flickered. Then her phone lit up. It was Max's parents. He was missing again. Gone from his bed. And in his place, on the sheets, were symbols drawn in black ash. The tunnel map from Carla's father showed a second path, deeper, leading past the sealed chamber. Carla knew what she had to do. We finished this, she told Eddie. They packed lights, ropes, and the key. The air in the church basement felt colder now, like the earth knew they were coming back and waiting. Carla locked the door behind them, just in case. As they descended, Carla felt a tingle in her spine. Do you feel that? She whispered. Eddie nodded, eyes wide. Like we're being watched. The tunnels grew tighter, rougher. The markings changed, more jagged now, scratched, not carved. The hum returned, louder, deeper. We're close, Carla said, though she wasn't sure to what. Every footstep echoed longer than it should have. At the very bottom, they reached it. A massive cracked stone dome, pulsing faintly. In the center, a pedestal, and something resting on it. Not a creature, not a statue, a shape, twisting, changing, alive and not. It's breathing, Eddie said. Carla stepped closer, the air thick and electric. This was the source, the hollow beneath everything, and it had been waiting. Near the pedestal was a ring of carved stone slabs, like seats. One had a fresh crack. Someone disturbed this, Carla said. She found another keyhole, shaped like the first. It's a lock, she realized. Or a lid. Her father's words echoed in her mind. Don't open it, no matter what. Carla held the key. Her hand shook, but she stepped forward. As the key turned, the air hissed. A low exhale swept through the chamber. Dust rose. The shape on the pedestal shimmered, then sank into itself like a puddle drying in reverse. A groan rumbled beneath their feet. It's not sealed, Eddie said. It's dying. The entire room shuddered. Cracks spread. The stone above them groaned. Carla's eyes widened. We need to go. They raced back, bursting into daylight. But they weren't alone. Max stood in the church, eyes vacant, whispering again. But this time Carla recognized the word. It matched the symbol from her dream. It was a call, she realized. A command to open. Max turned slowly. You shouldn't have gone down there, he said. No, it's awake and it's listening. Carla called the emergency line. We need to evacuate the entire block, now. Sirens wailed minutes later. Police knocked on doors, buses pulled up. Some people argued, others ran. The sinkhole, now twice its original size, rumbled like an engine starting. Carla looked out over the rooftops and said quietly, We're running out of time. Back at her house, Carla opened the last section of her father's journal. It wasn't architectural notes. It was a confession. He'd helped build the original seal. He'd known what lay below. We made a deal to keep it sleeping. But if the seal weakens, someone must go down and finish it. Carla closed the book. Her father had died in that chamber. Then it's me, Carla said aloud. Eddie stared. What? If the seal is breaking, it needs someone to finish it, she said, like he did. Eddie grabbed her arm. No, there has to be another way. Carla shook her head. This isn't just stone, it's a prison. And I opened the door. She looked out the window at the darkening sky. Now I close it. Carla returned to the hatch. This time she went alone. The town behind her was quiet. Too quiet. The air buzzed with pressure. As she descended, the whispers grew louder, but they weren't angry. They sounded relieved, like she was expected, welcomed. She reached the dome again. It glowed softly, like an ember at the end of a fire. She placed the journal on the pedestal. He kept you sleeping, she said. Now I do too. The shape rippled one last time. Carla laid her hand on the stone ring. It burned. Symbols ignited across the walls. The whispering surged. Then, silence. She closed her eyes. A breath, a pulse, and everything went still. Above ground, the sinkhole shook violently. Then, suddenly, it began to close. The stone groaned and groaned until a massive thud echoed across town. Dust billowed upward. When it cleared, the hole was gone. Just soil. Cracked and messy, but solid. The team outside stared. How? One whispered. No one had an answer. Only one thing was certain. It was over. Eddie stood at the edge, hands in his pockets. He knew she wasn't coming back. He also knew she'd saved them. Carla had understood what no one else had, that the thing below needed not a fight, but a guardian, and she'd become it. He left the edge without a word, but his heart was full of grief and pride. Weeks passed, the church was sealed, the tunnels filled with concrete, the school was never reopened. Some people moved, most stayed. Life, as it does, slowly returned to normal, but every now and then, when the wind blew just right, people swore they could hear a faint voice underfoot. Calm, familiar, as if someone was still down there, watching. One final thing. At the site, among the weeds and grass, a stone marker appeared. No one put it there. No name, no date. Just a carved symbol, the same one Carla had seen in her dream. Eddie visits it sometimes, and every time he whispers, "Thank you." Because beneath that spot, far below, the town's silent protector still waits, listening, guarding.